Welcome to Life Update email number 85. Okay, here we go, said like Mario. Upon finishing my last life update, I was still down from the results of my PET scan, but I worked out nevertheless and resolved to be productive. Hence, upon finishing straining my muscles, I then came down, did phoneme, and then there was reading when I got a text from Emerson being like, yo, you want to do a vibe session? And I almost said no, but then I was like, I'm just reading in my room anyway, so what the heck? And thus I said yes. As it turned out, it was a ploy. Well, kinda. XD, she did not really feel like working or being productive, but she was trying to be kind and do something I would enjoy and feel comfortable doing. However, she kept taking every five minutes as I just happily read my book. So I sussed out she wanted to talk, and hence we ended up having a really good conversation. That paragraph didn't really make sense, but whatever. Honestly, that talk really made me feel a lot better and let me pull out of my baby depressive funk, so I really appreciated it in the end. Once I got home, I journaled some before then reading some more and eventually going to sleep. Saturday, Joe hit me up, so we hung out like the good old days, minus the waffles drenched in syrup, which was quite the loss. We played Magic, some Brawlhalla, and also talked a little bit. 'Twas very relaxing and goo. I then got home, did phoneme before then proceeding to do a super walk with Jake. See, it was snowing, and this was like one of the very few snow days we've gotten this year, and so I was like, I need to walk in the snow. And upon contemplating upon who I would most like to walk in the snow with, I settled on Jake, and lol clearly made the right call. 'Twas a very good conversation, and quite the walk, XD. I mean, the distance wasn't extraordinary, but recall it was all in the snow, mind you. Here's the route we took. Our conversation ranged over a variety of topics, as can be expected should one speak at length with Jake, but it also consisted of Jake sharing these narratives he's been working on in his mind for forever. That was very entertaining, like listening to an audiobook, but one I could ask questions about. Here are some pictures from when I stopped. I actually really like this pic of Jake. Ooh, pretty pictures. And that is a very, very nice picture. Okay. The only thing that didn't go so well is I took Jake off the beaten path on an SE adventure, and he slipped and fell a few times. He did not enjoy that, which was sad, because that was definitely my favorite part of the walk. Fair. But regardless, very good snow walk. 8 out of 10 experience. Once I got back to his house, I talked with Charity and him until late, like 1 in the morning, XD. Because of the late night, I slept in, missing church, but that ended up giving me a really good quiet time, so that was nice. After that, I read for ages, worked out, did yoga, and then did phoneme before reading again until the time came for the Wade Financial Education course, which I, of course, attended. Upon that conclusion, I then read some more before finally going to sleep. The next morning, I did quiet time, read some, attended work, went on a wild goose chase to find the misdelivered office paper, which took me many places, but I eventually found it and retrieved the 8 packages and got them to their proper place. So I actually worked for like an hour 30 that day, but the rest of the time was spent working on the last life update and studying cancer. As soon as work ended, I worked out, attended Monday night where we played Magic and did Brawl as per usual, but as unper usual, Caleb joined, so it was cool to see him again. Also, I beat him at Brawl 1v1, so I'm better, in case that wasn't already crystal clear. Tuesday morning, I attended class, read in the break, attended my next class, and then repaired my bike because my handlebar fell off. Apparently, handlebars can do that. Once I used my awesome and super not jank repair skills to fill that issue, I then read some more, went to work, and then read once I got back from that. In case you can tell, I've been reading a lot. I'm studying my butt off, just trying to find something that will beat this stupid cancer. From there, I played racquetball with Benj and won! Don't mind the fact that the games he played with a majorly injured ankle. I then did phoneme, took so many pills, conversed over text, and then slept. The next morning, I had a really good call with Becky. Then David and I were going to run together, but he canceled. So instead, I napped. I then drove to Boulder for nothing. That warned me driving to Boulder, but we love bureaucracy. Jazz hands. I then drove home, did some phoneme, read some, had dinner with the New Zealand cousins who flew in the day before, and then I spent like 2 hours teaching Zack magic, which he actually picked up quite quickly and really seemed to enjoy. From there, I read some more, finished a great anime, and then went to sleep. The next morning, I'm pretty confident I could start feeling the pressure from my cancer in my chest. The pressure had been around for a few days, and it hurt a little when I took a really deep breath. My cancer is crowding into my lung space, so yeah, that was kind of a yike. So far, it's actually been all intellectual for me. Like, I have cancer is a thought, not I have cancer is an experience per se. But actually being able to feel it and it impacting my life, albeit trivially, was honestly kind of unnerving. Having the embodied experience of I have cancer is definitely different and not in a good way. But yeah, I just tried to ignore that feeling, went to class, started work on putting everything I've written since I was 18 into one doc. Quite the monumental task, I assure you. I write an ungodly amount XD. I then attended class again, did more life story work, and then I did a run before doing PhoTube and then hanging out with Katie and Emerson. We ended up driving to the mountains via a route I remembered from Braden like a year back. Lol, I just winged it, and it worked out. XD, and the stars were amazing. We were going to hold a fire while we were up there, but my lighter happened to be out of gas, so that super sucked. Aside from that letdown, though, I really loved that drive. Like just driving the Phoenix through the mountain roads at slightly above the speed limit, don't worry about my definition of slightly, while listening to great music is actually my happy place. Like honestly, one of my favorite things. The morning after I did that, I did quiet time, worked for 5 hours, which lol, was just me putting links into the appropriate documents at the appropriate points in the timeline. XD. I then left work a little bit early, talked with Ben, and he actually joined me for my workout at Raintree. He has a membership now, so hopefully I'll be seeing him around more. Got back from that, did PhoTube, read for an age, 3D printed some stuff, took all the pills, and then called it a day. The next morning, I got an unusual invite, namely to walk with Mrs. Miller, now Mayor, and her husband, Molly's mom, in case that needed extrapolating. It was a surprisingly candid conversation, and not bad. Tasty. Well worth it. Once I got back home, I read for a time, then I talked with Rebecca for an hour or so, but that was honestly just bad. It was all small talk, and I died. Once I got back home from that, I got my new 3D printer situation set up, did Fwaname, then read some more before playing racquetball with Benj and losing. Wow, so surprising. I know, I will win. Eventually. Probably. Maybe. Nessa, can you sound hopeful? I need some manufactured hope here, XD. I know you do, my guy. You have been on a crazy losing streak. On the way back, Benj and I had a super funny moment, the concrete details of which escape me, but I remember laughing really hard. Thanks for the details. Then from there, I worked on shutting down my credit cards before going to sleep. Upon the rising of the bright sky orb, the brighter one, mind you, not the lesser one, I attended church. My uncle presented out Southgate, but talked for ages, and I died inside. Then, to my surprise, the elders anointed me with oil and prayed over me. When I looked up, like a giant mass of people were praying over me, so that was cool. From there, I drove Cameron to get food in my car, and we talked as we went. Then we went to his house and drove in his car, and talk about contrast. This is what I got to ride in. Guys, you have not had fun until you ride in a Lamborghini. Oh my gosh, that was fantastic. It's just so fast. Honestly, made my tertiary SE way too happy, XD. So yeah, we had a fantastic drive up to Estes Park, got some coffee, and then drove back. And it was good combos the whole way. It was very enjoyable. From there, I did yoga and Fwaname. I drove Emerson to In-N-Out, and we talked before I came back. Hopped on my financial Ramsey call, talked with Emerson some more, and then she went home, and I got to call with Esther for ages, and that was big bueno. Actually stoked to be back in touch again, and yeah, I did a Fwaname and then went to sleep. The next morning began with me driving all the way to Boulder for a mostly pointless oncology appointment. I was a bit sleep deprived, but I got through work as well as finishing my 18th cancer book. I then used the rest of work time to do my life update email. Thereafter, I worked out, and then Zack, my cousin from New Zealand, was around, so I brought him along to Monday nights, where he joined in the Magic and Brawlhalla and did surprisingly well in both. He picked up Magic quite fast and played pretty darn well in Brawlhalla, so it worked out. Once I got back home, Zack and I parted ways. I finished the anime I was on, took all the pills, and slept. The following morning, I had classes, worked at work. One of the instructors panicked with his incompetence with technology, hence I was recruited. I then played Benj and racquetball, got obliterated, did Fwaname, finished yet another book, journaled, talked with Grace, and slept. Wednesday was my first new chemo sesh, so that was fun. Honestly, it wasn't actually that bad at all. Mom went with me, and while getting up early in the morning sucked, and the driving for about 2.5 hours in total was inconvenient, the chemo itself only lasted like an hour, and it was super mild side effects. So yeah, very grateful for that at least. Mom and I talked about a plethora of things, and it was good conversation overall. Once I got back from that, I read some, did pillbox building, and then called William as I did, which was a great call. I hung out with Emerson and Grace during the tail end, of which I actually cried in front of Grace for the first time in my entire life, so that was loads of fun. She stumbled upon the way to stab my inferior FI, so yeah, 'twas not a great experience, but she responded super well, and I was grateful it happened in the end. Obviously, there's more to be said about that, but it was all pretty significant. But lol, I don't like talking about it, so I won't. I then rode in the car bed while Grace and Emerson talked, and Grace brought me flowers and sushi to console me, which, not going to lie, I actually really appreciated. First time I've ever received flowers, and while I still think they're stupid and waste of money, I think I now understand and appreciate the sentiment. Here's a picture of those flowers. Once we got back, I needed some chill time, so I recuperated with some fuanime before calling Jordan, briefly hanging out in the living room with people, and then sleeping. Thursday, I went to class, categorized docs because I was still working on getting everything I have written from when I turned 18 to 23 organized. I then took a test for my rhetoric class, categorized my docs some more, attended work, categorized my docs some more, and then I worked out. Fuanamade, read some, and smoked with Caleb. That last part deserves elucidation. That's a word. Caleb was like, yo, we should hang, to which I was like, yes, we should. So the day came when such hanging occurred, and it was agreed we should smoke raspberry leaves in pipes as we hung, so that also occurred. We just chilled around a fire as we puffed our respective pipes, and it was quite enjoyable. Good chat. The next day began with me reading and also working on closing down more credit cards. Actually, quite the task to close like 10 credit card accounts, believe it or not. I then played queenless chess with Dad and won, and then began integrating with the breath techniques I had learned from this book about breathing into my reading. See, I got this breathing app that makes a little sound and vibration so you can time your breaths, and I've been using it whenever I read. Supposedly, breathing does things. I don't even know anymore. I'm just throwing Hail Marys, XD. I don't know why I turned Southern. You know, I'm kind of tired of doing things. If you just take the Fedben, you'll be cured. If you just drink 80 waters of unrefined, or 80 ounces of water with unrefined salt, you'll be cured. If you just take iodine, you'll be cured. If you just breathe, if you just process, if you just believe, if you just, false. Let me say it again, false. The proper formulation is if you blank, you might happen to be cured. All right. Rant incoming. Buckle up, Buttercup. People are dumb and greedy. You are no exception. I'm only halfway an exception, XD. See, people seem to think that they can know things, and more than that, that they have the right to claim things without putting in the work to know things. This baffles me. I understand both being dumb, aka not having knowledge, and being greedy, aka wanting knowledge. But to me, it seems quite obvious what you do if you have those two characteristics is work hard so you learn. Yet for some reason, people seem to think that they can simultaneously not put in work to gain knowledge and yet still have it in vast quantities. Via the delusion, do you think you can say X is true when you have spent no significant time or energy investigating X? Why do people feel entitled to intellectual competence? I'm sorry, but no. If you have never studied cancer, then you, in fact, do not know how to cure cancer. We understand this principle like everywhere else in life. You aren't entitled to a healthy body. You have to work for it. You aren't entitled to a happy relationship. You have to work for it. And surprise, you aren't entitled to the truth. You have to work for it. I once heard the quote, "Everyone is entitled to an informed opinion. No one is entitled to be stupid." And I thoroughly agree. Guys, I know your friends, cousins, uncle drank his urine for a month and happened to no longer have cancer. But that does not mean drinking your urine cures cancer. Lol, hopefully. Still technically pending on that conclusion, but lol, I'm not optimistic, XD. Yes, there are many things that happen to cure cancer, but that does not mean that they do cure cancer. Our desire to discover and then design a monolithic cause-effect relationship is genuinely screwing us over, and it's also irking me to the nth degree. And no, just because the cause is Eric, I'm not sure, does not mean it's an exception. Belief might cure cancer. Medication can be helpful, and trauma work happens to heal people, but none of those are the cure for cancer. They just might happen to cure cancer. See, I don't mind if people are dumb. Okay, that's mostly true. Some caveats, but let's ignore those for now, XD. I don't mind if people are dumb. I don't mind if you're dumb and greedy. I'm sorry, but if you're dumb and you have not put in the work to know what you're talking about, then you should not be talking. Like if you are uneducated about a topic and you act like you're uneducated, then I respect that. You are a good human. But if you're not buff, then you don't try to bench like a heavyweight. It seems pretty straightforward. Yet for some people who have never hit the gym, intellectually lifting for 3 months and then walk up to these monumental topics and are like, oh yeah, I could lift that one-handed. And then when it becomes quite evident that they cannot in fact lift that issue, they get all salty at me as if it's my fault. Don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger. It's not my fault your beliefs are false and you built some aspect of your life around the faulty assumption you could know things you had no right to claim to know. And also, I'm so terribly sorry my existence is an affront to you and your delusions. You're right. It's terribly unethical of me, aka prideful, to claim things I know I've worked my butt off to know, and in doing so to contradict you who've not spent a fraction of the time and effort. How arrogant of me to assume effort and integrity correlate to success in gaining access to the truth. Thank you for showing me that humility means treating everyone's opinion with equal weight and never, God forbid, telling people they might be wrong. You are so right, and I am so wrong. Oh, wait, that's funny. It kind of sounds like you're saying I'm wrong. Isn't that a bit arrogant of you? How prideful. Okay, I shall cease the dripping sarcasm, XD. Look, the point is knowledge not evenly distributed. Some of us know more, others know less. I'm terribly sorry if that hurts your feelings. Oh, darn, the sarcasm slipped back in, XD. I guess what I'm saying is I get all these people telling me they know not only what cancer is and how to cure it, but also how it works. And they aren't just like, hey, I heard this interesting thing. They're like, I know what cures cancer and you need to do this or else you will die. And I'm just like, okay, but how do you know? Because your TikTok feed told you so? Strikes a Buddhist pose and begins to chant in Gregorian style. Oh, great and powerful TikTok, reveal unto me all the mysteries of the universe in pithy short videos presented confidentially and without any empirical support. My eyes snap open. Oh, wait, you already did. See, the fact that I feel unsatisfied after ranting about this for an hour indicates the deep level of frustration I feel towards most humanity. Claps with each syllable. You are dumb. Stares directly into your soul. Fix that. Takes a deep breath. Okay, I think I'm done. Probably. For all of you feelers who I just deeply offended and who now hate me, understand this rant is only directed at you if you claim things that you have not studied in depth. If you do not do that, we have no beef. We chill. We homies. But if I get one more of you telling me that the cavity in my right molar shows that the third meridian is not transmitting universe energy to my spleen, and that's why I have cancer, then you will no longer have a spleen. And in the words of Socrates, the spleenless life is not worth living. He slightly modified XD. Okay, where were we? Oh yes, my infernal rage. Lol, so I breathed in a special way as I read, did a run, and actually got pretty good 5K time. Did Fuaname, read some more, communicated with people via text, did small stuff, and then slept. The next morning, I began with reading. I do that on occasion. Benj and I tried to play racquetball, but the courts were taken, so instead I came home and read for a few more hours, until we were actually able to play. Once we finished playing, I got home and finished the book I was reading. Then I started a new anime all about bartending. Literally just bartending. It's not even like bartending with an anime flourish. It's just bartending. Honestly, kind of boring. But I finish when I start, so the slog begins, XD. After Fuaname, I journaled, did a snow walk, and then slept. Sunday, I attended church as usual. Social stuff was chill. I got to share about the cool things I'm learning. Then I played some Magic games at Noah's before going to work out. After that, Emerson and I chatted for a bit, went on a drive, and then when I got back, I read, did pills and anime, and then lay awake thinking until 1 a.m. about death, huzzah, before going to sleep. The next morning, I would have liked to sleep in, but I didn't, because I had to drop off my Vibrant test, aka the test to see if I have fungus living inside of me. I then spent the rest of the morning closing credit cards as per the Wade's requirements. I then went to work and spent the 5 hours just working on organizing everything I've written till 23. It's actually so much. I assure you, you don't understand. XD. Once I got home from that, I went on a good run, played some Magic at Monday night, as well as some Brawlhalla, and then got home, took all the pills, and slept. The next morning, I did quiet time for an age, 3 hours, attended class, played table tennis with Dad for an hour before going to work, where I finished reading yet another book. I then spent some time looking into a monastic retreat as a way to get some focused time with God. Not gonna lie, my relationship with God right now is a touchy is a touch rocky, hence why I figured this would be a good way for me to try and fix that. And to transcend the timeline a bit, that actually ended up happening. I'll write about it next life update. From there, I played racquetball with Benj, as per usual, and got creamed. Didn't win a single game. And then I have in my notes, SD and food 2-hour talk, which I have no idea what that means, and I can't remember the event. So, lol, I did SD and food. XD, apparently. But I do remember playing Roblox with Zack for quite a few hours that night, and it was actually pretty fun. First time I've played that video game in ages, like actual years. The next morning I had chemo, but before that, the elders from mom and dad's church came over and prayed over me, which was cool. Then Nessa came by and abducted me into her car, via which she transported me to chemo. We had many a conversation, and 'twas good. It was good. Can confirm. That whole process took about 4 hours. Once I got back, I had a family dinner including Zack, Uncle Dave, and Aunt Haka. I got to play queenless chess against Ben and Zack. Individually, I beat them both, but then I played them together queenless. I lost. Huh? I don't know. From there, Ben, Zack, and I just played Starve IO and Diap IO together until 1 in the morning. And because of this late hour the next day, I slept in. Upon arising, I attended class, called with the cancer survivor Cameron is friends with, named Sean. Genuinely crazy story, this guy. He first had Hodgkin's lymphoma and then lung cancer, and now he climbs all kinds of mountains with only one lung. Wow, that's really impressive. He summited Everest, and I think he said he's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro 27 times. Holy cow. He has got to be an SE Dom XD. After calling with him, which wasn't really very helpful, but he was still really nice, I then worked out and fwanamade until Noah and Neo came over. We had a big semi-existential talk, which was kind of refreshing. I miss being concerned about existential topics instead of just stupid cancer whines. I want to be a philosopher again. DX. So yeah, good convo. Did Flowtube and pills, and then the day ended. However, that night I didn't get to sleep until after 2, as I stayed up writing a letter to Grace. The following morning, I worked out, finally finished ordering all of my documents I had written until my 23rd birthday. Oh my gosh, that was so much work. I don't think I'm going to print those just yet, because lol, I don't have a spare $200 to do so, XD. I then finished out my day at work responding to messages before going on a run, doing fwaname, driving with Emerson, and then walking around City Park. And then we started an anime movie, but she had to head, so I finished it myself. It was an odd anime movie, made by the same guy that made A Silent Voice, but unfortunately not nearly as good. It was slice of lifey, but just so subtle. Honestly, too subtle. I was bored, XD. The next morning, Benj and I were going to play racquetball at Raintree, but someone had already booked out the courts, so we pivoted and went to Genesis. However, their day pass is $25. Like, what the heck? That's insane. Yet we didn't have to pay it because the girl at the front desk said it was a drop-in hours for racquetball, so we couldn't reserve a court, and since we were not sure if we would get to play, she didn't want to make us pay. However, that said, I got the feeling that it wasn't company policy. It was just her making an executive decision. And, obviously going out on a limb here, but it felt like she was doing it because we were attractive. Okay, sure, Alex. I don't have any objective proof that pretty privilege got us, oh my goodness, got us out of paying $50, but that's what it felt like, so I'm going to claim it. XD. And besides, that stroke of fortune, it also happened that we just arrived as the guys using one of the 2 courts happened to be finishing up. So we only had to wait like a minute, and then we ended up getting a court. So yeah, that was great. That being said, I still lost to Benj, so I guess my luck only went so far, XD. From there, I went straight to the Bowen's house to watch this fairly disturbing ancient play called Pippin with Neo, Sydney, Noah, and Catherine. Definitely find it oh my goodness. I apologize, I can't read. Anywho, definitely found it mildly scandalizing, but it was novel, I'll give it that. From there, I ate and did Flowtube, and just as I was about to leave, Ben showed up, so me and him carpooled to the Myers shindig, in which I socialized. Lol, mostly with Canon, let's be honest, XD, and it was fun. Once we got back home, the bro introduced me to chess boxing, where the competitors alternate boxing and playing chess, and I actually thought that was great, and I want to try that sometime. And then, yeah, that was the day. At church the next morning, I had a good talk with Jake, did some socializing as I ate nothing at lunch bunch, finished canceling the last of my credit cards, watched the Dave Ramsey videos as I did the dishes and such, ate the food, worked out, did yoga, then Fuaname, and then I drove with Katie and Emerson to Vern's right before the fam came back from the family wedding they were attending. Grace then joined me for the Wade's financial call, and that was quite distracted for most of the time. I then continued debating various religious topics with Katie, which was fun, and then I was like, I want to sleep. So the girls left me in peace and did a sleepover while I actually slept. Quiet time was had the next morning. I went to work, read, and worked on this life update, went on a run, and then attended Monday night, wherein the only novel activity was Karina introduced me to the Santa ball game, and I sucked comparatively. And that was vexing because I hate losing, especially to Karina XD. But otherwise, the night was pretty normal. Brawl, some magic, etc. I did quiet time for 3 hours the next morning before venturing out into the very cold world. I attended class and then got out to only discover my bike had been stolen. See, my bike was sourced from a dumpster and hence was pretty jank, so I never lock it up because my thought is, who would want to steal it? Hee hee, same philosophy I apply to my car, by the way. But then, lo and behold, after 2 years of that philosophy being validated on the coldest day of the year, I was disproved. So, since I had no transportation, I walked to the Dural Center and started looking online for an electric scooter, which I figured was warranted for a few reasons. First and foremost, I needed a new form of transformation, and a new bike was going to cost me at least $100 already. Second, I figured if I do more chemo, I probably won't be able to bike across campus given the fatigue, and so having an electric form of transportation may end up actually being necessary. But third, and most importantly, electric scooters are fun. Plus, given our habit of renting the Lime scooters and pulling people on rollerblades, it may end up paying itself off in money saved from not having to rent a scooter anymore. So, lol, I did research for an hour and used the awesome power of AI to find what I figured was a pretty good deal, and then full send. From there, I went to work as per usual, played bench and racquetball, and lost utterly. Didn't win a single game. And then I was sad because I found new lymph nodes growing in my groin. Hence, I now officially have stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's quickly devolving from there. Since that time, I've noticed my lymph nodes popping up all over my body. I've gotten them now in both armpits and in my neck too. My cancer just seems to have been turbocharged ever since I started BV, which is super sad because that means salvage chemo is basically guaranteed, and I was really hoping to avoid that. Also, the fact that I hit the 35% odds of BV not doing anything also just sucks and makes me concerned I'll hit the same odds during salvage chemo and that it won't do anything. So yeah, while I'm not sure BV isn't doing anything, the fact that numerous new lymph nodes have popped up in the last few weeks makes me pretty darn confident. So yeah, some prayers regarding that whole state of affairs would be very well appreciated. I sent out an email detailing everything. I'll send out an email detailing everything if and when I know for sure, but regardless, I was feeling pretty down from that discovery. I spent the rest of the day doing nothing valuable and just being sad until I went to sleep. The next morning, I had chemo, and at the last minute, Grace decided to accompany me. We had a good conversation on the car ride there, and I had the doctors check out my new lymph nodes, and they were like, "Yep, sucks to be you." To which I was like, "Tell me about it." Once I finished chemo and I got home, I did PhoTube, read with Emerson for a bit before the chemo caught up to me and I had to go home and take a nap, which proceeded to last 4 hours. And then I basically just woke up, did PhoTube, and read more until I slept. And finally, for yesterday, I read in the morning, walked to class in the cold, looked at gaming laptops because I figure if I'm going to be doing salvage chemo, the reason I have historically avoided video games now is a boon. See, I don't play video games because back when I was a little baby, I used to get super engrossed in them, and it was all I would do. But given that I'm most likely going to be undergoing death chemo again, those properties may actually be good. Hence, I'm trying to find the most addictive, engrossing video games to play, and hence, if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears. Anyway, I went to work and read, worked out, played queenless chess with Ben as I ate, and got him with the weirdest checkmate, with literally only just my king and knight. Most whack checkmate I've ever gotten, XD. Then I refined some magic decks as people talked. I have like 6 more to go. I've just been ignoring them because lol, magic is so far down on my priority list right now. But given everyone was over for dinner and talking, I figured it would be a good way for me to be present and also slightly productive. I then read, did pills and Fuaname, read more, and then finally decided on a gaming laptop to buy before going to sleep. And there you go. That's where I'm at. Talk to you all next time.